Get to the show.
I belong to you.
I belong to
you. Do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
Puts it into an area. Keo, Zamora!
And I'll always be around when you need some loving, baby. No one else.
Yeah. Put you down. All my melodies,
Hey guys, I'm Si and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. This is episode number 85. The show is available live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter currently. You get Ace Podcast Nation, home to many other great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more, including our extremely prominent, pertinent and popular mental health and sports show, which drops every Sunday. Please give us a follow on social media, but most importantly, subscribe to that YouTube channel. Click the bell and you'll be notified every time we upload or go live. And if you just want to follow the football shows, you can follow at AC Footy Show on all social media platforms. And of course, you can download the audio versions of every single show we do at the usual podcast platform, and of course, just as we wait for everyone to join, we'll have a quick shout out and thank you to Black Diamond Sports. Black Diamond Sports is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, visit their social media pages or indeed their website, and I would like to thank them, particularly Martin, for all the support around the show and generally just helping us tick along. It's very much appreciated. And today's sponsor, none other than Bespoke Financial, and we're just going to have a quick little clip from them.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, big thank you to Bespoke Financial. Bespoke Financial specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and of course sports cover. So I urge you to check them out. They're already the top provider in the northeast, looking to expand into other cities and places around the UK. Give them a look and tell them that we sent you. Most importantly, tell them that we sent you. But a big thank you to Bespoke Financial for sponsoring the show. So, all things championship tonight, and boy oh boy do I have some stuff to say. But before we get to that, I will first introduce my co-host with the most, the goal collector, the fox in the box, the speed demon, all names that he has been referred to. But most importantly, ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker and David Jones' favourite son. Mr. Andy Campbell is here. Welcome, my friend.
Good evening, mate. Yeah, loads happened this week. Championship-wise, we've had a full week, full weekend last weekend, full midweek this weekend. But I'd like to start off the show with obviously to pay our respect from the show, us individually for obviously Nobby Stiles, who sadly passed away today. Ex-Middlesbrough player, finished his career. Didn't finish his career at Middlesbrough, finished it at Preston North End, but he after he had a successful career at United. Obviously came to Middlesbrough to play some games towards the end of his football career. But it's such sad news, isn't it? You know, that we're going through obviously a really tough year, and then for things like this to happen. And Bobby Ball died. What was it? Bobby Ball died yesterday or the day before?
Yeah, today I think, wasn't it?
Was it today or yesterday? It's just so sad. It's sad news after sad news. So you know what I mean.
It's never ending, mate.
Listen, shows like this, you know, I mean, we try to be upbeat, and we'll continue to do so, and we'll try and bring a bit of humour to everybody's lives, and just listen. Stick as plenty of comments as you can in the live chat. As many questions as you can. Put a question mark at the end of it if you want an answer. That might help. Let's have some fun. You know that I think it's been.
We all need it, mate.
It's been a bit. Yeah, I know some of you are in lockdown. I think we might be in lockdown quite shortly. So listen, let's have some fun and let's look over a tough week in football and in life, and let's have some fun tonight.
Yes, mate, I couldn't echo that more. Obviously, as a Welshman, the 1966 World Cup doesn't mean a great deal to me, other than the British team won the World Cup. However, I've been told about it for the last 39 years nearly, and how great it was, and etc. But obviously, one of the most famous scenes from that is Nobby Stiles. It's kind of jigging along the pitch,
dancing around. And, believe it or not, though, guys, I was not born then. You know what I mean? I wasn't born then. I've been told all the stories. My dad's told me everything about it. He listened. And I've said this on every international break. I'm so hopeful that one day I can have those memories to pass on to my friends, children, etc. Because it'll be nice. But let's see, eh? Let's see.
Yes, that's a spot on, mate. And I'd just like to echo what you were saying as well. Like, I know, obviously, we talked a lot about mental health at the start of Monday's show, and we did stuff a bit different to draw attention to it. Lockdown's hard, mate. As I was just saying to you off air, I'm finding this short 2-week lockdown, and we're a week in Wales, harder than I did the whole 6 months. It's just the way it is, and I think things like this, let's just start the weekend in style, have a laugh, have a chat. We're all there for each other in one way or another. Let's go.
I totally agree, Si, and I'll echo there what you said. Listen, we all normally work all week to try and enjoy football at the weekend, and we haven't got that. And we're watching the games, and it's becoming, and this is from a football fan and an ex-player of various clubs, it's becoming even more frustrating watching football because performances, results, the unpredictability of what's going on in football is just outrageous. Because I see some of the performances, results, team selections, and I'm confused at best. Let's just start with that one.
Transfer business, inconsistent performances, wrong managerial decisions. Sorry, I'm already starting. So, what we decided to do, because it's a double week, we like to keep the show to around an hour if we can. But also, we don't. We want to give every team their due. There was no massive kind of stories outside of the games this week, so we're gonna bin off any of the business for tonight, and we're gonna focus solely on the games, the teams, what's good, what's not, what's ups and downs, and we'll see where we go from that. But we'll do it like we did last week, mate. Okay, we'll go with the championship table, bottom to top. Sheffield Wednesday, mate. Oh my days! What is going on? Gary Monk.
We said last week, and we keep saying it, by the way, because I watched a couple of shows ago, that the need to get in the plus points as soon as possible. I still echo that, but it's getting harder and harder, and the gap's not getting any smaller because the teams out of relegation are picking points up. You know what I mean? I think the teams just out of relegation is Derby County on 5 points. They're -4, so you've got a 9-point gap. So they've only made up 3 points since the start of the season. And that's not a good return, by the way. So, you know what I mean? So, yes, they wouldn't be where they are if it wasn't for the 12-point gap, but there's still 12 points. It was put in because of a reason, because they they broke the rules. So fair's fair. They broke the rules. They get punished. For me, they've got a big game tomorrow against Wycombe Wanderers away from home. They've got to turn it around because the 2 results this week, no goals at home against Luton Town, and then away to Rotherham, a 3-0 defeat with 10 men. It couldn't have got any worse in a local derby against Rotherham, and for me, it must be a little bit worrying being a Sheffield Wednesday fan, because we spoke last season about teams being too big or too good to go down. No one's too good to go down. No one's too big to go down. And Sheffield Wednesday, if they do drop down, it'd be an absolute travesty. But you know what I mean. And I know we laugh and we joke about league tables and things, but league tables don't lie. Yes, the -12, but the -12 because they were punished and punished correctly.
Indeed. First question of the night. Do the Ayatollah, Andy Campbell.
There we go.
There we go. The weekend.
There we
starts
go.
here.
Weekend starts.
Gaz says Siler seems fired up tonight. Well,
Yeah. I think I've got you. I think I've got you going. I'm going with
I am a bit
positivity. Bit of positivity.
Start of the weekend. I needed something.
Bit of positivity.
Maybe this is it. Look, Sheffield Wednesday, mate. I ain't no fan of Mr. Gary Monk, let me tell you. But I will say, we always knew this was going to be a very difficult season for him with the points, and it's the most impossible league as it is. Like, anyone could beat anyone. That's a massive result for Rotherham, which we'll talk about it from their side, obviously, in a bit. But Sheffield Wednesday at the moment, they're not able to get their big players in the game. Patterson obviously started with a goal and then didn't really get too much in the other games. Bannon is like their main man, and if he's not firing on all cylinders, they do seem to have a bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
I'm not inspired by their signings. You know, they signed Marriott and they signed Aidan Flint. That is, I don't know. If I'm worried about defensive problems at the bottom of the league with a lot of points or a few points behind, I'm not sure Aidan Flint's the answer. No disrespect to him. Callum Patterson obviously is a great signing, and I resent Cardiff selling him. But the actual games, mate, what did you make of it? Obviously Saturday they lost to Luton Town, and then they lost 3-0 to Rotherham.
Well, the Rotherham game in particular for me was farcical, giving some silly goals away. I don't know if anyone's seen the red card by the centre half when he's pulled the lad. The goalkeeper's missed the ball, the defender's missed the ball. He's dragged him back with no with an open goal, and it was such. Gary Monk must be pulling his hair out, because being a centre half, you want your players to head it, to kick it, centre halves and defend properly, and goalkeepers to stay on the line and defend from deep. But the most concerning thing for me, Si, is the lack of goals. Because, listen, you're going to give goals away, but no goals in the last 2 games. One in a local derby, one against Luton Town at home. It's the lack of, you said there, Barney Banham, he can create chances, of course he can, but someone's got to put the ball in the net. And I look at the players who they've got going forward against Luton Town. You know, you've got your Callum Patterson, you've got your Marriott, you've got your Kachunga. These players last season scored goals for fun. You know what I mean? Patterson can score goals at Cardiff City, and Marriott and Kachunga both scored goals. You've still got your Kadeem Harris out wide. You've still got your Adam Reach out wide. Barry Banham for me on paper, and he's probably, if not one of the best players the Championship's got in his armour. So Sheffield Wednesday are very lucky that they've got him playing for them. Yeah,
100%. The one thing I just said about Aidan Flint not being the answer, 1 minute into his first game for Sheffield Wednesday, he did clear it off a line. So, you know, I'm not saying he's a terrible player. I'm just saying that I'm not sure he long term for a whole season. I'd be pinning my hopes on clean sheets with him in central defence. Look, that's just my opinion. Obviously, it's not right. I think similar to Cardiff in that I think they're very reliant on Barry Bannon, but on paper, mate,
too reliant.
Yeah,
well, listen, they've got a very good side,
Kadeem Harris isn't firing yet as well.
Yeah. Neither does Adam Reach. Adam Reach hasn't had a good start of the season.
No.
Kachunga's obviously a brand new player come in. Listen, I think when they get to 0 points or plus points, players will play with a little bit less fear and they'll start to go up the league. But at the minute, you've got to be worried because it's the gap. The gap's closing back to that 12 points. Because if they lose tomorrow and teams outside of relegation win again, you're back to your 12 points gap. So you've not made any points up. So it's. But I do understand if they weren't on minus 12, they'd have points in the bag. But that's not the way it's working and rightly so.
No. It's one of them, isn't it? They on paper they've got a good side. One of the best squads in the Championship, I'd go as far to say. But maybe a psychological thing with the the point deduction that they can't quite get going.
Yeah.
But I think we both tipped them to stay up, even with the point deduction.
Yeah,
has that changed for you?
No. I look at the team and I think once they get firing, once they click together, I think they'll go on a good run. And
do you think it matters? Sorry to interrupt you, mate. Do you
That's
think
all
it
right.
matters? Say Wycombe Wanderers were to go and stick 3 or 4 on them, psychologically and from a points point of view, they'd then be like 6 points behind or whatever it is. Do you psychologically think that could have an impact going forward on the rest of the season?
Oh, definitely. Listen, tomorrow. Let's make no bones about tomorrow's game. Tomorrow's game is a huge game. It's a huge game for Wycombe Wanderers. It's a huge game for Sheffield Wednesday, and the loser's going to come out of it really, really harmed, and it's going to have a severe effect on their season. Because I watched Wycombe Wanderers in the week against Watford. I thought they were excellent. I thought they deserved to win.
Very good.
And I watched obviously Sheffield Wednesday's game against Rotherham, and I thought they were woeful. I thought they were all over the place, and it's probably done Gary Monk a favour with a few people getting sent off because he's got some easy decisions to make, because there's no way in the world he can keep that same side, because they were absolutely diabolical. One thing I will say, Si, though, is Sheffield Wednesday are massively affected by the no fans at home, because they get the cop, they get the huge fan base, big crowds, you know what I mean? So playing in front of that big stadium, empty, is having a big effect, I think, on the home team rather than the away team, where the other way around, if it was full,
Takes
the
the pressure off
would
though
crumble.
in that as well.
Yeah. But it can raise your performance as a player, you know what I mean, and give that extra 10%. And you know, when they're not there and you're struggling, how do you get your extra 10%? Who gives you that apart from yourself or your teammates or your manager? You know what I mean? But I probably said enough there for somebody to.
So Rob just said there he thinks Coventry are going to beat Reading tonight. I got to say I don't see that with the way Reading are playing at the moment.
The way Reading are scoring goals, Coventry will have to score at least 3 to win that game.
Yeah, Coventry is defensively haven't been great. Next team, Wycombe Wanderers. Still looking for that elusive first win, mate, but performances have been good.
Yeah, well, listen, you know, we're on about positivity. Gareth Ainsworth will take some massive positives from the Watford game. You know what I mean? I thought they were absolutely outstanding. They had a goal which should have never been disallowed. The Norwich City game, they should have got a point out of another late goal.
They deserved the point,
you know what I mean? They
well.
deserved a point, and I felt really sorry for them, and I thought there's got no chance to get a point against Watford or 3 against Watford. But the way the game was played, they played with no fear. They created chances. If it wasn't for the Watford goalkeeper, Foster, you know what I mean? Wycombe would have won. I thought they created loads of chances. Though Akinfen was absolutely fantastic. He led the line really well, and they had runners in behind. And it'd be interesting. I thought Joe Jacobson as well, because he set up with the goal that was disallowed from the set pieces. He's always a threat, and I know he's been out of favour for a few games after a few performances which the manager wasn't happy with. But he's back in the side, playing well, and he got in team of the week as well. So really proud of Joe. So I hope he continues.
Spot on, mate. Yeah, he had a great season last year and he's continuing it. What did you make of the Norwich sending off against Wycombe? IDAS, do you think that was sending off?
It's a tough one though, isn't it? Because you're talking about intent as well, you know what I mean? And I think by the letter of the law, I think probably, you know what I mean, it was, but it's a soft one side. I just think...
He lashed out, didn't he?
Yeah, I just think, you know what I mean, sometimes, and I've done it myself, and you lash out and you think, oh, why did I do that? I might as well have punched somebody in the face, you know what I mean? You get the same... You get the same thing. If you kick out now and you raise your hands or you lash out to anybody now, it's a red card. And young players more than anybody know the outcome straight away. So you know what I mean. He'll learn from it because he's a very good player, by the way. He had a few good spells in the Premier League last season. He started this season, scored a couple of goals. So he'll learn and he'll be back in the side very soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, the one thing I'd say about that sending off was I thought. I did think it was a sending off by the letter of the law, but also I thought it was a stupid thing to do, and it could have cost Norwich a point, because Wycombe deserved a point from that game, and then if you got a player sent off in injury time, it gives the other team a lift, and I'm not sure how long was played after, but it's risky. Wycombe versus Watford, I thought Wycombe were absolutely outstanding, mate.
Yeah, they were.
They really deserved a point, and when you think what Watford have done to some teams this year, to get a point was good, but to play so well that if they'd won, they wouldn't have been against the run of play, I think says a lot about maybe they're just getting a little bit of momentum going and they may pick up some points shortly. Next up, Coventry City. They're having some issues, mate, with defence, I think.
Yeah, a terrible week. Minus 6 goals, 0 goals for. 4 against Blackburn. A man sent off for the penalty, which Armstrong put away. He scored again. Gallagher also scored. I thought Blackburn were just on top. Once the man got sent off after 15 minutes, there was no coming back. But I had a good look at Coventry against Middlesbrough, and I'll be honest, they lacked any kind of ideas going forward. They defended really well for long periods. Obviously, Mark Robbins set them up to play that way, which is fine. But you've got to have something going forward side, because I look at the Middlesbrough game. You know what I mean? For long periods, Middlesbrough were attacking, and they weren't really bothered. Coventry probably should have taken the lead, just before Middlesbrough scored. But Middlesbrough thoroughly deserved the goal, and then obviously scored a breakaway towards the end. But for me, I worry for Watford. I worry for Coventry, because they don't seem to attack like the teams attacked last year, like the Lutons and the Barnsleys, and I'm really concerned that they're not going for games like that, like those two sides have, especially last year and this year.
Yeah. Well, look, no disrespect to you and the Boro fans in our chat, but Boro are not exactly prolific scorers.
Yeah.
And I feel like they could have had more than 2. Coventry got a big problem at the back. And I agree with you completely in regards to how they're going forward. Like Coventry last season was scoring goals for fun in League One, and I know that it's a big step up to the Championship. But I also think the reason they're not playing as fluently and as well, and like the other teams have when they've come up, I think maybe they haven't got the quality of players that Luton had going forward, or that Charlton had going forward. When you look at some of those players who like Lyle Taylor and Wallace and people like this who were going forward for these teams who had come up from League One, there's no one in that Coventry team which I look at and I think, he could go and play for not to say they're bad players, but there's no one which really stands out as an offensive player, if that you get what I mean.
I look at the last 5 games, the 2-0 defeat, 4-0 defeat, 1-1 draw, 2-0 defeat, 3-1, 0-0. The last 7 games there with 2 goals, it's not good enough, you know what I mean? You take the QPR victory out of it earlier on in the season when they scored 3. They haven't scored enough goals, and they've used half of the goals this season in 1 game, and that's just not enough, and they had to score 3 to win the game. It's just not enough to sustain a good run in this league, because the league, it's no mercy. You see teams like Norwich City score late goals, you see Stoke City scoring 3, you see Brentford scoring regular goals, Middlesbrough have started scoring, Cardiff always score. You've got to score goals in this division. You have to.
Yeah, and I think there's a way to do it as well, which we'll get to later. Next up, Derby County. They had a mixed week.
I think it was probably a probably decent week for them. I think obviously where they are in the division, they haven't had a great start. 2-1 all draws. The first one at a local derby at the weekend against Nottingham Forest, 1-0 ahead, and then Lyle Taylor equalised. Wagon opened the score in local derby. Obviously no Wayne Rooney, who's isolating for the week, so he missed obviously 2 big games. And obviously we spoke about we spoke about that side, didn't we? You know what I mean? He's having a big impact on his football club. You know that it was stupidity on his behalf, in my opinion. And the 2 games that he's missed, he could have been the catalyst and the difference in making those draws into wins. You know what I mean? Look at the Cardiff game; they were 1-0 ahead for long periods. Obviously, until Kiefer scored. Waghorn again, he's had a good week. He's a good centre forward, but will he score enough goals? Will he get the ammunition to score enough goals to push them forward for the rest of the season? I'm not so sure. They brought in Colin Kazim Richards. You know what I mean? I didn't think he was still around. He used to be a very good player back in the day. He's about 34, 35 now. So let's see how he does. You know what I mean? He's only played about 20 minutes of football in the last 3 games.
He's a fiery chap.
He is, yeah. He's was he Turkish international? He's been sent off probably more times than he scored. So I'm not sure him and Wayne Rooney together is a recipe for success. I think there could be fireworks on and off the pitch, but let's see. Listen, Derby need all the help they can get, I believe, because they're in a position which they don't want to be in. The manager's under a lot of pressure, and I think he's trying everything to get them out of it.
Yeah, I think, look, mate, the Championship is like a common theme. There's so many teams, Derby included, who on paper look like they've got a squad capable of challenging for the title, let alone promotion.
Yeah.
But for some reason, tactics, team selection, whatever it may be, situation doesn't click.
Yeah.
And Derby they fall in that category, mate. Look, Forest result, I think that's a good result. Forest have got a new manager, they're up and ready, and they're starting to get themselves together. So a point away, good. Cardiff City, we'll get to Cardiff side of it in a minute, but like Cardiff were dreadful. Derby should have won that game.
Yeah, bad result. I'll go on Richie's comment about it was nice to see a game at Pride Park with no snow, so it was nice to get a game on in October. In October, no snow. No, I mean normally we get very bad weather at Pride Park.
It's torrid, mate. Funny enough, Ed, BBC Derby journalist Ed Dawes tweeted, or he put something on Facebook about the game that he was commentating on, and I said, "Oh mate, is it snowing? I hope you got your gloves." And he saw the funny side of it. But,
I think he was the only Derby fan who ever did see the funny side of any of my comments.
Well, he knows the ridiculousness of it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Next up is Forest, actually, so that falls in nicely.
Yeah.
Krzyzicki's loan appeal was rejected. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, they've had another similar week. Obviously, 2 draws, 2 1-all draws. I look at the Derby game. I see that as a good result for Derby. I see it as a bad result for Forest. Oh, yes, they were chasing the games. Lyle Taylor's got another goal. He's starting to make a little bit of a name for himself. They go to Luton Town, go 1-0 behind, get a man sent off, and then all of a sudden they start playing a little bit and start to attack and start creating chances, which must be pretty worrying for Luton, but pleasing for Nottingham Forest that they've now 4 games unbeaten. They've given themselves an opportunity, but they need to turn these draw sides into wins, because Rotherham 1-all, Derby County 1-all, Luton Town 1-all. We're on about Nottingham Forest here. You know what I mean? We're on about Notts Forest. And if Notts Forest have any aspirations about going up, getting in the playoffs, they need to turn those sides who they're playing against into wins, because they should be beating them on paper.
Yeah, I think they're finally getting over that that last day kind of heartbreak, I suppose you.
Yeah, I think the manager's come in and he's done a good job to try and turn that around. So I think Chris Hughton will be a good appointment.
Gaz has got a great question here for us. He basically says, because I mentioned the Grozicki loan application was refused, 21 seconds after the deadline, he says, is it childish or fair?
I'd throw the question in, why on earth are you leaving a deal
late
in the day?
Spot on. But from the EFL's point of view, is it just, it was 20 seconds? Technically, it's still, say 7 o'clock, whatever it was, 5 o'clock it was. If it's 5 o'clock plus 21 seconds, it's technically still 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't like the 5 o'clock deadline anyway for me. You know what I mean? It's a deadline day, and the day ends at midnight. So for me, the deal's got to be midnight. You know what I mean? And if a deal's not done by the midnight, the paperwork's not through by the midnight, a deal can't be done. You know what I mean? For me, I look at the player. I feel sorry for the player, because the player wanted to go. The player wants to go and play football. He's now stuck on his backside, sitting doing nothing.
Won't be in the squad. Which is not going to play him.
You know what I mean? So for me, he's a good player. The Championship probably needs him, and I'm gutted for him. And it could have been any club. I'm not really that bothered which club it was, but I'd be frustrated as a manager if the paperwork was being held up by my football club as well. So I'd probably ask those questions as well.
Yeah, look, if it's 5 minutes after the deadline, then tough. But when you're talking seconds, I just think, come on, bit of common sense. Like, for the sake of the player, less. Like, but then I suppose people will say, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
But I'm saying, if it's still, like, it's 5 o'clock on the clock, whatever, however many seconds it is, then maybe we can allow that. If it's 5:01 or 5:02, then I guess
I don't understand though. Why leave a deal that late? If you want the player and you know he's available, get him a week ago, 2 weeks ago, start the season. Why wait? I don't get it. Baffles me.
Rob Boyle he missed that. Grzycki was going to Forest on loan. Rob
West Bromwich Albion.
Was it West Brom or Forest?
West Brom. He was going to Forest from West Brom.
Yeah,
is that right?
Sorry, yeah. And it was 21 seconds past the loan deadline, so they blocked it. Next up, QPR. So they're very difficult to predict. QPR,
up and down side. The last 4 games QPR played, they haven't scored a goal.
And
we've said over the last probably 18 months how good QPR have changed things, fortunes around. They score more goals, create more chances.
After losing some big players as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And they still keep churning the players out. 0-0 draw against Birmingham, I think it's a good result. There's never many goals against Birmingham this season. Karanka's got a way of playing. My issue is the Barnsley game. Another red card, by the way. Dicky gets sent off for the penalty for Cauley Woodrow, and they just lacked ideas again. They've still got the attacking players. You know what I mean? You've got your Macaulay Bonne, you've got Albert Dormer, you've got Tom Carroll, you've got Che, you've got Dykes. You've still got all these kind of players, but they're not creating the chances and scoring goals like the Jordan Hughes last year did and the Eze did. You know what I mean? These players made goals and chances out of nothing. And at the minute, QPR, it's not happening for Warburton at all for whatever reason. And I'm sure Mark will be quite concerned with the table at the minute, because last year they were inconsistent, but they were winning a lot more games than they were losing. And at the minute, 4 games without a goal is a major concern. And the games don't get any easier. You know, you look tomorrow, they play Cardiff City, then they play Derby County, Blackburn, Watford. The games are really tough. Every game's a tough game. You know that yes, we've been a little bit, we're going to be negative on Cardiff and the way that things are going. But last time Cardiff went to QPR, I think it was 4 or 5-0 last season. So we can't afford a repeat like that, and I'm sure Cardiff City will be well up for it.
Yeah, like I was just looking, the last 5 games, they've scored 1 goal, which was against Wednesday. However, they had Wednesday, Bournemouth, then Preston. Okay, so I'd accept that they might not have thought they'll pick up points there. The 3 great teams in Championship football. But then I think we even said last week, Birmingham and Barnsley, those 2 was almost like a bit of a break for them from playing those other, or after playing those teams. Yeah. And it's almost like they switched off, because they drew with Birmingham, and then Barnsley just destroyed them. And it was like Barnsley of last year. Yeah,
you can't put your eggs in one basket though, Si, can you? You can't afford to expect that you're going to win against these kind of sides. It's so
more than any other league, isn't it?
So unpredictable.
So next up, mate, was Barnsley.
Yeah.
So that falls in nicely as well.
Yeah. Drew away to Millwall, which I think is a great result. I think Millwall are absolutely flying. Gary Rowland's got them playing some great stuff. So to go away to the new den, they were 1-0 up. They give a goal away just on half time for a set piece. Cooper headed home, but they hung on. They did really well to get the point. And then we just said there, they blew QPR out of the water. Cauley Woodrow, Chaplin, and a silly on goal, which was somebody would have tapped it in anyway. But I'm always on the fence with me sometimes. Sometimes if you just leave the ball, you put the onus on the centre forward. Yes, he might look a little bit silly, but 9 times out of 10, you know what I mean, that one opportunity might not go in, and it might look like a good decision, because at the minute there's a lot of own goals going in because people are trying to save a last ditch tackle, and I'm not sure if fans were there that they would take these kind of risks for me. But on a positive note for Barnsley going forward, Si, we rave about how many chances they create, and I think they thoroughly deserve that victory. But for me, it should have been a little bit more. Should have scored a few more goals.
Well, we mentioned their dependence on Cauley Woodrow when he was linked with Cardiff. I said I didn't see them signing and selling him just because they're so dependent on his goals. They've scored 6 goals in the last 3 games. Cauley Woodrow has only scored 1 of them, I believe.
Yeah, he scored.
Did he score 2 in that game or 1?
No, he scored 1.
1 against QPR. So he's only scored 1. So that's a good sign for them. And plus, they've only conceded 2 versus Stoke, but they kept a clean sheet against QPR. I think that's big for them. Because if Barnsley can do what they did in League One, which was keep a lot of clean sheets, they will score goals.
They'll score goals because they create chances. I agree. You know what I mean? And a lot was made of losing Brown and losing some other attacking players. But if you can play to your strengths and give the ball to the Woodrows and to the Chaplins, and you'll create chances, and goals will come.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Next up was Rotherham United. Picked up their 2nd win of the league season. And it was a big win for them, mate. They lost to Reading, didn't they? Sorry. Oh, Andy's gone. Reading thrashed Rotherham on the Saturday. But I want to talk about Rotherham versus Sheffield Wednesday, because I thought Rotherham were very, very good. And just as we wait for Andy, if anyone wants any questions quickly, never mind, ignore that. I was just saying, mate, Rotherham against Sheffield Wednesday, Rotherham were very, very good.
Yeah. And
you know,
before
Reading are beating everyone, but
before the red
Rotherham.
card, before the red card as well. By the way, you know, I'm not having what I watched. I watched extended highlights of this, and people were on about saying that the red card was the issue. It wasn't the red
Monk
card.
said that
You know
as
what I
well.
mean? It wasn't the red card at all. They were already 1-0 down. They were already defensively all over the place. Flint went off, injured for Palmer, and for me, it wasn't an excuse. Yes, the 2 goals came, but the second goal. It was an open goal. He would have scored anyway, so that would have already been 2-0. So I'm not having Gary Monk making that as an excuse. They were all over the place. He didn't score a goal. For me, I think his lineup was all wrong. I look at Josh Windass and think, why didn't he play? Adam Reach on the bench, Jordan Rhodes on the bench. For me, he's got some. Kachunga was on the bench. He's got some very good players on the bench. For me, it looks from an outsider looking in that he doesn't know his best team, and he's moving people around because players just want to play. You know what I mean? And if you change a team from A to B, from Saturday to Tuesday, Saturday to Wednesday, for me, you're not going to get that consistency. The teams who do well are the teams who keep their similar or same team week in, week out. A team like Reading at the minute, they're flying. Does he make changes? No. He brings subs on to freshen things up during a game or to give lads a rest, but he keeps the same team week in, week out.
Yeah, the players trust him because the players know the tactics and the formation, and you get, even if you're not getting the results all the time, you get a fluency of play in a certain way.
Yeah.
You know that your right back's going to be where your right back's going to be. You know what runs they make. So then it becomes second nature to, you know, play a diagonal ball to the fullback or what, you know, whatever it may be. But tactically, the more you keep the team together the same, I think it's better long term for, and especially for teams coming up who are struggling. I think finding that fluency and having a run of wins is so important. And I think Rotherham, you know, in a kind of, is Rotherham Sheffield Wednesday a derby? It is, isn't it?
Yeah, Yorkshire derby. Yeah.
So to win a Yorkshire derby so comfortably, and I'm not having what Monk said, similar to what you were just saying there. It was, I didn't think it was the sending off because they were 1-0 up, and also it could have been 2 at least because they had there was a couple of really good chances just before the goal.
And the goal's the goal. If he wasn't sent off, he scores because he walked it in. The goalkeeper was ahead of the ball. He was just about to put it in, and he got pulled back. So don't blame the red card. The red card didn't have an effect on the first 2 goals for me.
Spot on, mate. Next up, Huddersfield Town.
From last week's great week, 2 wins, to this week's poor week of 2 defeats. Just the joys of the Championship, I guess, Si. But listen, on a bigger picture for Huddersfield Town, this time last year they were in dire straits. So you know what I mean.
Mate.
This year they're having a very good season. So you know what I mean. They'll pick themselves up. You know what I mean. They played Preston North End, who can beat anybody on the day. They got beat at home 2-1. It's always a difficult game. Side. They went 1-0 ahead. And then Brown scores 2 quick succession goals in just after half time, and you're chasing the game. And when you're chasing the game and you get man sent off, Sarr got himself sent off. It's a difficult one.
Do you think
it's really
there was a
difficult
sending
to
off,
take.
mate?
Same thing again for me, Si. I think personally no, but we'll go back to this wording of letter of law and things. And I think
in today's day and age, you know, it's a risk of getting sent off at the end of the day, regardless of whether we think it should be a sending off.
Yeah, I think if the referee could look at it again, you might be giving things benefit of the doubt a little bit, because sometimes you're making and this is what I like about the Championship, by the way, that the referees are making a quick fire decision on decisions, and I think that's why we're having loads of men sent off, because I think referees thinking that the worst, because you've got to remember, Si, if fans were in the stadium, these tackles will probably sound worse because you've got all the fans going mad as well. So referees are making these judgments on 0 fans as well, which makes it even better for me. That I think they're making these judgments off a professional decision themselves.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Poor week overall for Huddersfield. Preston was a tough game. They probably would have expected or wanted to beat Birmingham City. So it's, you know, it is what it is, I guess, and we'll move on to Birmingham next. But it's interesting on Facebook. Richie is saying about fans should get behind the team, and you know, Cardiff have had a quite good couple of years, etc. And about the Boo Boys, because it was obviously a negative reaction to the midweek game on YouTube. Johnny Wish has said Cardiff were garbage. And Neil Harris should never be a manager for a club the size of Cardiff. Russell Slade Part 2, in his opinion. So that's quite interesting that you've got kind of 2 people who watch Cardiff week in, week out, and they're having a different opinion. But we'll get to Cardiff in a minute. Next up was Birmingham City, as I mentioned. Good result against Huddersfield.
Yeah, and a decent result at QPR. You know, I know we've hammered QPR a little bit about not scoring enough goals, but Loftus Road is a difficult place to go. And Birmingham City, the way that they play and they set up, they're not going to score a lot of goals. They don't create a lot of chances. Side, listen, they've played. How many games have we played? 8 games, and they've scored 5 goals and let 5 in against. So defensively, they're absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? And they're up there with the Readings, and they're up there with the best teams in the league. But going forward, to only score 5 goals as well, it's just not a good return. You know, and they've just scored 2 of them in one game as well. So it's a difficult one. You know what I mean, to get right. And Karanka plays in a certain way that he defends from the front, and he gets everybody behind the ball and the attack in small numbers, but it's effective in this league, and he's got a good track record, the same as what Neil Warnock's got at this level. You know what I mean? So he knows how to get out this division, and you won't hear Birmingham City fans complaining if he gets them in the playoffs, because that'll be a progression and a successful season. If by scoring 25 goals this season, the fans won't care as long as they win games.
Yeah, spot on, mate. I as you know, I'm a big fan of what Birmingham are trying to do in terms of build around a young squad with a few experienced players. Great week for them. 4 points. Like you say, QPR is a difficult place to go. And Huddersfield have had a good start to the season, mate. You know, those last-minute goals always lift the squad as well. And after conceding against Huddersfield, they conceded the equaliser at 85 minutes to then go and get that winner on the 90th minute. That's like.
But Si, one thing I will say then, because you let an 85th minute goal in against Huddersfield, you let a 90th minute goal in against against Norwich City.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it?
Fitness, you know what I mean? Concentration, fitness levels.
Could that be because they've got quite a young squad, switching off, thinking the job's done?
It's hard to defend for 90 minutes as well, Si. You know what I mean? If you defend for 90 minutes, you're going to switch off sometime, and people switch off at the wrong time. And unfortunately for them, it could be the 90th minute or the 85th minute, which seems to cost them 3 points or potentially 2 points in the last 10 days.
Indeed. Spread the word, because the next team is Cardiff.
Hang on. So
before we get to that, there was a couple of questions which were Cardiff related, which I said I was going to go back to. So Gavin asked, Ojo's getting better and better. What do you think, Andy and Si?
Go on, Si. I'll let you go first, because you're obviously you're a big fan. So you know what I mean. I am, but I'll let you go first.
So my concern with Ojo was whether he'd be able to consistently do it over the season, and if Cardiff needed wingers who could play 30 plus games and do it week in, week out. And I questioned whether he'd be able to do that. I think since he got his first goal, he looks like he's really confident. I'm going to get to Cardiff in a minute in regards to their lack of crosses into the box. A lot of that is tactical, which again we'll talk about. But in terms of Ojo, I quite like him. This in there, the problem overall, and it's not a problem for him, he's a young man making his way in the game, he needs time, he's only 19, but I just don't know if he's right. We can't rely on him for the whole season. Like, he's not going to go and get 15 assists and 10 goals this year. I'd be very surprised if he does, because he's so young. I think that's a problem, because Cardiff need that.
Yeah. So you look at his development. He's coming through a really good system at Liverpool. He had a loan move in France as a young boy. He went to Rangers last season, played 19 games, scored 1 goal. He's played 8 games in the Championship and already scored 2. He's getting assists, and for me, in a tougher division than the SPL. So for me, I see this as massive progress for the boy. You know what I mean? I think we can't put too much pressure on him. We can't be too many expectations on him. For me, as a wide player, if you could get yourself 5-7 goals throughout the season and then still chip away with the assists, because that's your job, I think he'll be over the moon. Because the way he plays, and the balls he puts in the box for Kiefer Moore and Gratzel, for me, he will set goals up just by putting the ball into an area. So for me, his assists are there. The goals for me are a bonus. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And for a young lad, when I say young lad, he's 23, but he's still a young boy. But you know what I mean? I think he needs to go and play 40 games for me. He needs to play 40 games in a season. He played 19 last year at Rangers, 15 the season before in France. He needs a good run of games, week in, week out, like he's doing. he'll play with confidence, and let's see where it can take him. Because for me, I hope it's not putting him in the shop window and someone else can snaffle him away and take him away in January or at the end of the season. Because for me, Cardiff need all the help they can get. They've lost a winger already this season, and trying to replace him again, another player, would just be impossible.
Yeah, look, mate, I thought the performance against Derby County specifically was pretty close to disgraceful. Yeah. It was negative, long ball. That's pub football, mate. Cardiff are better than that. They've got better players than that. As many weaknesses as there are in the Cardiff squad, which we pointed out at the end of last year when we said they need to address it in the transfer window. And then I said, and we said at the start of the season, they haven't addressed it. They got some, in the second window, they got some players in. I still think they haven't addressed a lot of the issues. Harry Wilson's injured. Tomlin's still out. We've got nothing. No creativity. Let's just, Kiefer Moore's up front. Let's just lob it up to him. Yeah, we don't go down the sides and put any crosses in. You have Hoylett just turn back, pass to Bennett or whoever, pass back to the fullback. Negative, mate. And I can't be having it at all. It's exactly what I was concerned about with Neil Harris when they announced he was manager, that we would just go to this long ball, play the percentages, crap. Yeah. And I struggle with it. Couple of questions, mate. How are you impressed I did that without swearing?
Yeah.
Kelly says, anyone feel Kiefer Moore just being penalised all the time, trying to get elevation whilst jumping for the ball? I do think he gets a rough deal.
He does, but it's the way he plays his all arms, and he gets elevation by using his arms, and because of his stature and because of the way he plays, it's going to be a difficult one. But for me, he's just got to keep on going, keep plugging away, because he's going to get some of the decisions. He's not going to get some others. But I'll refer for me for what you've just said. I'll follow on another level. So I looked at the Middlesbrough game, watched the Middlesbrough game quite closely. I spoke to a couple of people during the game, and after the game at half time. For me, I just saw I saw Neil Warnock just shutting up shop, but I liked that Cardiff kept coming. They kept coming with fresh ideas. They kept coming with Harry Wilson. They kept coming with Josh Murphy, Ojo, Kiefer Moore. I thought Joe Rolls and Vauxhall in midfield. I thought with the best partnership and best pair. I thought the substitutions who came on, Gratzel, Hoylett, Bakuna, they made a little bit of a difference. And the longer the game went, if they scored a little bit earlier in the game, I do believe they'd have won. But I think because the goal came with about 20 minutes to go, I think if they had another 10, 20, 15, 20 minutes, they'd have probably won the game. But then chalk and cheese side, you just said there about the Derby game, the selection, the lacking of ideas, just the all round. They just look like a different side from
devoid of
from
ideas.
What I've just mentioned, and probably 1+ point. Joe Bennett was back in. I'm surprised he started. If I'm honest, I'm surprised he wasn't on the bench. And be disappointed for the young player to lose his place after a good performance against Middlesbrough. But the manager went for experience. But the formation changed.
That's the problem, isn't it? For me,
the formation for me it changed dramatically, against Derby because Joe Rolls was asked to do a more attacking role, which is not really in his armour for me. I think he enjoys getting on the ball from the defence and spraying balls about and getting us going. Obviously, Junior Hoylett is no Josh Murphy leg wise for me, in my opinion. So straight away you've lost 2 of your 3 attacking players. Which then puts a lot of onus and a lot of pressure on a lad who's on loan from Liverpool. So it's a really difficult one for me. And then you lose your right back and you put Bakuna back in there. You know what I mean? For me, he's not a right back. He makes too many errors at right back. His quality on the ball is not great. But the manager picks the team, and
he lives and dies by it.
The manager's going to live and die by
his
decisions. Yeah.
A couple of messages. Garen says Neil Harris sets up not to lose. Maybe he's safeguarding his job. No comment from me on that, but look,
it's a difficult one.
I'll follow up with something.
It's a difficult one because the pressure on the manager in 2020 is horrific. You lose 3 games, that you're going to lose your job. So, you know what I mean. He's churning over points. You know what I mean. I know that doesn't sound great as a football fan, and it's the style of football that you thought you'd left and you wanted a different way of playing. But he's got 2 points in a week. He's undefeated in a week. You see them positives. You know what I mean? Yes, it wasn't great. Yes, it was a really bad performance, but he'll see it as a positive, like the players will see it as a positive as well.
Yeah. You can make a positive out of anything. So I got 2 points really to finish us off with this. One, which I'll tie into James's comment there on the formation. But first of all, I want to ask you a question. Now, we've just discussed a minute ago about the importance of getting the same 11 or a run, a core of your side, etc., playing week in, week out. But what I want to know is Bacuna, Pack and Hoylett have been underperforming for Cardiff City, in my opinion, for at least 12 months. I'd say out of the three, Bacuna has had a few good games in that time. The other two, I think, have been underperforming for a while. Maybe not full 12 months, but for a good, not like I'm not talking a couple of games, I'm talking a prolonged period of time. Yet, the manager will start them week in, week out. Now, that's a problem for me, because if they're not performing, alright, everyone has a bad day, of course, I get that. But if they're not performing week in, week out, game in, game out, yes, they're experienced. Yes, you know what you're going to get with them from a work rate point of view, etc. But that's not going to improve the results. It's not going to improve the team, because you're picking players that are out of form. In some players' cases, you're picking players which maybe they're coming to the tail end of their career and they're not what they once were. It's problematic for me. I mean, what do you feel like as an ex-player? So, for instance, if you're the young Mark Harris on the bench for Cardiff, you're full of energy, ready to go, and you see Junior Hoylett underperforming week in, week out, being negative, passing the ball backwards instead of... because he can't beat the man anymore because he hasn't got the pace to do it. So in turn, we're not getting the crosses in to Kiefer Moore, so we're going backwards. Surely that's going to be frustrating for the guys on the bench.
Listen, I think it's frustrating for everybody, but you've got to. For me, the players they haven't got the power. They haven't got the. You know what I mean? They're judged by their manager. Their manager picks the team, so they've got to impress their manager enough for the manager to have faith in those players. You know what I mean? The players are experienced. That's why he's keeping faith with them. He thinks they're the best fit. For me, it's putting round pegs in square holes. I wouldn't put a midfielder in a different position. I wouldn't put a centre midfielder in a more attacking role. I wouldn't put a centre half up front. But for me,
what about that one? Hoylett at 10 when you're Tomlin and you.
Not for me. Not for me. I don't think he creates it. I don't think he's got that. I don't think he's got that pass. For
he
me,
hasn't got the guile, have he?
For me, I think we're missing a trick. You don't have a 10. You just play 4-4-2.
Yeah,
and you have two centre
forwards.
forwards up front.
Get to now.
So you play 4-4-2. You've got why play a 10? Why keep the same formation when you haven't got the player? You're putting square pegs in round holes, or round pegs in square holes. It's pointless. You've got Gratzel on the bench, who you bought for a lot of money. You've got two big monsters who you can put the ball forward to. Play a direct game, put loads of crosses in the box, and see what happens. You put the other team under pressure from the minute one and see where you get. You know what I mean? Forget this neat and tidy football, trying to get a number 10 in an area in behind the midfield, just be in front of the centre halves. It's a difficult way of playing. You know, we're not Man City. You know what I mean? So it's a difficult one. Listen, I would love them to play this Barcelona type of football and score the best goal in the world. But for me,
not going to happen.
Put the ball in the box and Kiefer Moore will score. You put the ball in the box and give Gratzel chances, he'll score goals as well. How can he score when he's sat on his backside? Impossible. No. He's not going to do it.
Kiefer Moore can't. He might be 6'5", but he can't do anything with just long balls humped up to him to hold up, and he's got no runners to play off him. Joe Rolls is not that type of midfielder, and he's playing in that role. The wingers have got no legs. You play 4-4-2, and you play Murphy, and you play White, you play Harris, Harry Wilson. You play these guys wide with Rawls and Volks in the middle, and Glatzel and Moore up front. Why not try that? I don't understand the refusal to try it.
I find it difficult side because I look at it from a personal point of view. If I was playing for Cardiff City right now, I wouldn't play. I'd either be sat on my backside on the bench, or I'd play out wide. I wouldn't score any goals because I wouldn't get anywhere near the goal. Because I wouldn't be playing number 10 because I'm not that kind of player. I'd play out wide, and that'd be my only option. And I'd play because I want to play, but I would love to play up front with the Kiefer Moore. I'd love to play up front with the Gratzel because they'd do all the work that I didn't want to do, and I'd get the joys. But
no central defence in the Championship, mate, would want to play against Glatzel and Kiefer Moore if we had the wingers putting the ball in. Right.
Correct.
Last thing, because Gary sent this question, I missed it earlier about Cardiff. So Gary says a question for us. Who was at fault for conceding the goal against Derby? Smithies for not setting up the wall, or Kiefer Moore, who's 6'5" and didn't jump? He just moved his head.
I look at. I don't think anyone's at fault. You know what I mean? Because the wall's set up. You know what I mean? Some managers don't like players to jump. You know what I mean? So you're then blaming somebody else and putting someone else in the equation. And I'm not saying it's the manager's fault, by the way, because coaches it's the coach's job to set up those kind of things. So if you jump, you've got an opportunity to put it under the wall, and the keeper's got no chance to save it. So some managers and coaches say, don't jump, stand tall. So the ball's got to beat you and go over the wall. And if you're 6'4", it's got to be a decent free kick to get over the wall. For me, it was a decent free kick to get over the wall, and it's gone in the back of the net. For me, if it goes over the wall and it goes in, it's a half decent free kick. I do get where the ball went, but for me, it's a difficult one. For me, if Cardiff City scored that goal, I'd say it's a good free kick. But because they let it in, it becomes a bad free kick.
Yeah, I think you've always got to look at it from a defensive point of view, haven't you? A goal, you concede a goal, you've got to look at why you conceded the goal. Like Smithies probably could have done a better job setting up his wall, of course. Kiefer Moore, if he jumps, he blocks it. But that's easy to say in hindsight. If he jumps and it goes under, he gets told off and slated for jumping. Yeah. So let's just give credit where it's due. If I was gonna, I wouldn't even blame either of them, to be honest. And it's just a general theme, like guys saying they're sick to death of the one up front. We done the same when Kenwyn Jones was there, just lumping the ball up to him. It's difficult. There was a comment which caught my eye. Oh yeah, Neil Harris keeps saying that Glatzel's the best finisher at the club. Yeah, he's constantly on the bench.
It doesn't make sense.
We'll finish with Cardiff for now. We might come back to it if we have some questions at the end of the show. But next up, Preston North End. What do you think of their week?
50-50, the win again, the lose again.
Probably not like that at the moment, isn't they?
Probably no disgrace losing against Millwall, because Millwall are travelling really well at the minute. Millwall are beating some of the best sides in the league, and Preston aren't hitting the heights that they did last season's side, but they're still scoring goals, they're still creating chances, and I think they'll be okay. Alex Neil's got them doing a good job. As I said, the reaction they showed after going 1-0 down against Huddersfield was great, and Alan Brown scored 2 quick fire goals, and they deserve to win. But obviously the home games are the important ones. If you want to get in the playoffs, you want to do well this season, you've got to win the home games. But to lose against Millwall, Kenneth Zahar scored, and then there was Jed Wallace penalty, so it was a difficult one to take, really.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it, mate? They've been very up and down, Preston. They started the season really well, and it feels like almost like one win, one loss, one win. I know it's not quite like that, but 2 tricky games. A good win against Huddersfield, who've been on form, and then Millwall are doing very, very well. We'll talk about Kenneth Zahor a bit later on, because he had a mixed bag of a week. Did you see the one where he hit the corner flag?
Yeah, I did.
It was incredible. Good shot. But Millwall looking nice. But in terms of Preston, do you still think they'll be there or thereabouts in terms of playoffs?
I don't know. I think they're good enough to be in the top 10, and probably pushing like they did last year. But you've seen how strong they were last year, so they still didn't have enough to get in the playoffs. So I think it's a tough league this year, and I don't think they'll have enough.
Yeah, no, I think they might fall just short myself. Next up was Blackburn, who they've got the ability to slam anyone I've seen versus QPR, as against Coventry, and they've beaten other teams, and then they had a bit of a sticky spell where they drew with Cardiff, lost to Forest, lost to Watford, then they smashed Coventry on Saturday, and then they outplayed by Reading.
Barring one game against Coventry this month, they've had an awful month. But yes. They go to Coventry. The man gets sent off. Adam Armstrong scores 2. Really, really dominant display. Defend really well, and then you go and play Reading, and you let in 3 goals in the first 16, 17 minutes. You're not giving yourself an opportunity, Si. You know that Adam Armstrong is absolutely on fire. You know what I mean? He's probably the best centre forward in the division on presence and on form, scoring goals. But Reading seem to have a little bit of everything. It's the pace and power that they break. You know what I mean? Mite, Elise, just the way they attack. Semedo, Lucas João. the way they attack is absolutely scary, and they're just playing with no fear. And when you're bringing on players, Sonny Aluko and McIntyre to take attacking players, you know what I mean? So they've got in reserves as well attacking players who are going to cause teams problems, and it'd be interesting if they can carry this on, because at the minute there's a gap. They've got themselves a small gap which they can play with, and if they can grow that and get a little bit stronger, then they can afford a bad run now and again.
Yeah, I think, and I firmly believe this, if Blackburn can shore it up at the back, they will be there or thereabouts.
I think they're getting the playoffs.
In terms of I think they're capable of doing better than that. But their problem is they can never quite get a big run of games, because defensively they leak a lot of goals. If you get what I mean, that's the big difference, I think, between them and the teams who will win the league or finish second. Next up, Brentford. Interesting week for them, mate. Yeah,
well, tough week. For me, I think they played the two best sides in 1 week. They played Stoke City last weekend. They got beat 3-2 away from home. You go 2-0 down against a decent side, and then you go 3-0 down just after half-time, and you're fighting a losing battle, but they got themselves back into it. 20 minutes to go, they scored the first goal, and then through the week, they went 1-0 down, or 1-0 up, against Norwich City through Ivan Toney, who's having a great season so far. And then again, Norwich City score an 87-minute equaliser. So, is it fitness? Is it concentration? For Norwich City, it's fantastic, but for Brentford, it's a huge 2 points drop, because after losing on Saturday, you need to pick up your points like that. And you can't afford to lose late goals in games in the Championship, because they've lost a lot of big players, and the league table they're in now, it's the position. It would have been a lot healthier without those 2 points added. It would have put them up probably 3 or 4 or 5 places.
Yeah, and look, Norwich is a tough game, but you can't switch off. And Tony could be in our 2 up, 2 down every week at the moment. He's on fire. Stoke, tough game, especially because Stoke now this season are starting to show. And we'll move into Stoke, actually. They're the next team. Starting to show what they're about. They had a little slip up, but overall, they're finding their feet.
Michael O'Neill's got he's got them playing side. He's got them attacking. He's got them defending at times. He's got you've got Mikel in midfield. He generals in midfield. He runs in midfield. McLean scores goals. He's not everyone's favourite. He's like Marmite. You either love him or you hate him. Obviously Brown. Jacob Brown that they got from Barnsley, he's a threat. Stephen Fletcher, we raved about him all last season, playing for Sheffield Wednesday. Campbell scores goals for them. They've got a substitution bench to die for, by the way. Lee Gregory, Nick Powell, Sam Vokes, and that's not including Joe Allen, Shawcross, who aren't even on the bench at the minute because they're injured. So they've got a really good squad of players. And yes, it wasn't great in midweek. They got beat by Swansea. I thought Swansea did a good job on them. They didn't create as many chances, but some of the goals that Swansea scored against them, especially the first one, was outstanding. And when you let goals in like that, sometimes it's not going to be your day. But they're winning enough games at the minute to put themselves in a good position. Last season, I think, was just to write the season off. It was a really bad season, but this season, I think they'll go on a good run soon as well. Yeah,
I agree completely. Flying high in 9th position, Luton Town. Looking good.
Yeah, they've had a good week, solid week. Beat Sheffield Wednesday away from home, which is a fantastic result.
Everyone beats Sheffield Wednesday.
Keep a clean sheet, and then Nottingham Forest. I think we spoke about the Nottingham Forest game earlier on, that they were 1-0 ahead, playing against 10 men. You expect to see the game out, and then all of a sudden, Ray scores an own goal. He had a bit of a funny game. Ray scored an own goal, then he got himself booked in the same game. So apart from the red card, he had an all-round interesting afternoon. But listen, I think with the position that Luton Town finished last season, where they are now, they'll be absolutely delighted in 9th place. Scored 7 goals, let in 7 goals on 13 points. Just 1 point off the playoff positions. They're having a fantastic season, and it's not a place where you want to go and play. Whoever's going to play them next, because they've got some interesting games. They could play Brentford tomorrow, then they're playing Rotherham and Huddersfield. So there's 3 games there. They could pick all 9 points up, but then at the same time they could lose it all as well. So it's the joys of the Championship.
Yeah, and it's no fluke they're there, man. They deserve it. They've been playing really well. They're good football. Some great players. Wallace is great, mate. He really is. But I really like Glenn Ray. Is it? Ray.
Yeah. He had an interesting game at the weekend. But yeah,
I do like him. I think he's a good player. It's interesting. I think Luton are doing well, mate. I enjoy watching them. Next up, the mighty Middlesbrough.
Listen, they've had a great week. Draw away from home, win your home games. If you keep that kind of form up all the way through the season, you'll get in the playoffs. But it's standard of football, brand of football, whichever you want to call it. You know, I was promised at the start of last season a style and a brand of football, which I'm still waiting for it to begin. So I'm just greedy, Si. I want to be entertained and win games. So it's a difficult one to take sometimes. But listen, I'm a fan who wants to see his side in the Premier League back as soon as possible. And if Neil Warnock can take Middlesbrough back in the Premier League, then I don't care how he plays.
Yeah, it's a fair point, mate. I think Middlesbrough's biggest problem has been scoring goals. So it was good to see him get a couple.
Well, Britt scored a good goal, good finish. I thought Jed Spencer's finish was excellent as well. The way that he showed composure for a defender. You know what I mean? I think George Saville scored a couple of important goals from set pieces. He did against Cardiff. He scored against Bristol City. So we're scoring goals from various areas, which is good. But I still think they need more goals from the centre forward areas and from the positions where you expect. Akpron's injured. Fletcher injured. Britt's only just come back, so the pressure on him to score goals, which he's done in the past, and I fully expect him to go and do it again because that's just the way he is and the way that the footballers are expected to go and use their talents productively. But they're going along nicely with a few games coming up for me, which are winnable games. Nottingham Forest tomorrow, Blackburn Rovers away from home after that. You know what I mean? For me, Middlesbrough could go and win both because of the way that they play. But Nottingham Forest tomorrow will be a difficult one. Forest on paper can score goals. Middlesbrough don't let a lot in. Forest don't let a lot of goals in. Middlesbrough don't normally score many goals, so it's going to be an absolute classic tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Don't watch it. I tell myself that about 3 o'clock.
No, to be fair though, mate, I think with Boro, they'll keep clean sheets. If they can find that goal scorer and someone in the squad who's going to get them 15, 20 goals, they could be,
I agree.
Could be in that top
10.
I
agree. But you look at games side, they played 8 games and scored 8 goals. And, I know it's only early, but if you want to score, if you want to do that philosophy of keep clean sheets, scoring goals, we're on about Barnsley in League One and Barnsley at the minute because they're creating chances. You need to score double the amount of goals that you're scoring at the minute. For me, we need to be 12, 15, 16 goals.
100%, mate. Next up, Norwich. Mixed week for them. I thought they were a bit lucky against Wycombe and then drew with Brentford.
They're the masters of scoring late goals. 2 games this week, 2 late goals, which I don't think it's any fluke. You know what I mean? So they beat Rotherham, last minute goal. Beat Birmingham, last minute goal. Beat Wycombe, last minute goal.
2
with Brentford,
last minute
goal. So you know what I mean? It's no fluke. You know what I mean? There's the continue and the grind teams down. But as I say, we've already spoke about the red card for Ida. Vrancic, another late goal with a winner against Wycombe. I was gutted obviously for Gareth and Wycombe, but I think from Norwich's point of view, you know, when they'll look back at the end of the season side and see these late goals as some massive points picked up, and if they do get to that holy grail and get to the Premier League, they'll look back at these games and go, there. That's the reason why we're in the Premier League.
Spot on, mate. Those last minute goals, they over a season, they accrue.
They add
some
up.
Big points, mate.
And it shows the fit as well, Si. It shows fitness levels, concentration levels, that they keep on going right to the final whistle. That's what we get taught as a kid.
And I think I like Kenny McLean who plays for Norwich. I think he's a really tidy player. I enjoy watching him, and he picked up the last minute 87th minute equaliser versus Brentford, which is a big goal, mate. At the end of the day,
goal. Listen, Brentford are no mugs. You know what I mean? They'll beat.
They only just missed out on automatics, mate.
Exactly.
At the end of the day,
it was a really good result.
Next up, we have Bristol City, who were they were doing what Reading had been doing for a few games, and as usual, they fall off a cliff, and they've fallen off a cliff in style.
They've had a tough week. I say Swansea and Brentford this week. You know what I mean? They don't get any tougher as well. You know, I know the Championship's an unpredictable league, but when you're playing, Bournemouth, sorry, when you're playing 2 games like that. But I look at the Swansea game, that 1-0 down for long periods, a score an 83rd minute penalty through Naki Wells. So for me, that was a good point. You know what I mean? Chasing the game, it's it's the Bournemouth game where you lose a late goal and you don't give yourself an opportunity. Because if we're talking now, Si, about Bristol City getting 2 points against Swansea and Bournemouth, it's a great week. It's an absolutely great week. But 1 point out of 2 games is a poor week. You know what I mean? I know we spoke about Cardiff City picking. You can see the positives getting 2 points and being undefeated.
They got 2 points in 4 games, mate, haven't they?
Yeah,
after the start they had is poor.
But it's difficult. You know what I mean? But then you take the Middlesbrough game out of it with a mistake for the goal. You take the late winner for Bournemouth. You know what I mean? It's small margins, and Bristol City have had a really tough couple of weeks and getting punished at really bad times.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I think the Championship is it's such a difficult league, and I think you're just going to get teams having spells of win a couple of wins, a couple of losses, and then a surprise result. Next up, we had Watford, just 2 points from this week's 2 games.
Yeah,
probably be disappointed with that, mate.
Yeah, well, I think so. I think 100%. I think the Premier League game last year, Watford against Bournemouth. Watford will be disappointed because they give away a 94th minute equaliser to Bournemouth through Chris Mepham, and you know what I mean, that's so difficult to take. And then you go into a local derby, so to speak, against Wycombe Wanderers, and you get outplayed by a team who's come from League One. So it's a really tough week when all of a sudden you think you're getting 3 points in the bag against one of the best squads in the division, and then all of a sudden you're being outplayed on a Tuesday night at Wycombe. It was a strange week for Watford, but you know what I mean. Like I say, 2 points again. You know what I mean? They've only let four goals in this season. They haven't scored as many goals as I thought, but I think they'll take it.
Conceded
they'll
so little, though, haven't they?
Yeah.
Like,
it gives them a chance. It gives them a chance. It gives them an opportunity to progress forward, because you look at the names. You know what I mean? The goalkeeper alone. You know what I mean? Foster will keep clean sheet. He will get Cathcart. You know what I mean? These kind of players are the Premier League players. You know what I mean?
They'll win you games, mate. Like Ben Foster will win Watford a game on his own at some point. Just
cleverly, Sarr, Pedro. You know what I mean? They've got some very good players. Yeah, they've got some very good players.
Pedro on the bench versus Bournemouth.
Yeah, he was, but he played against Wycombe.
Yeah, Wycombe outplayed him, mate, as we discussed earlier. Next up, Millwall on fire.
Swansea. Where's Swansea on?
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
On mine, Swansea are above them. But,
no. Well, I've just got
Millwall.
Yeah.
We'll go with Millwall, then we'll do Swansea.
Millwall. Oh, well, it's a great week. 4 points in a week. Finished off with Preston with 3 points. Jed Wallace, Kenneth Sahar. Millwall are finishing this season the way that they finished last season. You know what I mean? They're doing great. And Gary Rowe should be credited for the work he's doing. He's put for me a not strong squad on paper, but he's pulling them into really good togetherness. He's getting them to play the way that they want to play. They're creating chances. They're scoring goals. They look defensively strong as well. They don't give a lot away. I know Gary was a defender back in the day, and it just shows that he's turned into be a very shrewd manager, and he's doing a really good job.
Yeah, he certainly is, mate. And look, if Kenneth Sahor can get a run like he did for Cardiff in the Championship, I believe that could be massive for Millwall, because it takes the pressure off Wallace, and them two together scoring goals for fun could make Millwall very, very dangerous. Like, we've talked about the importance of having a goal scorer, but like potentially Millwall have got 2, 20-odd goal season strikers.
Easily,
as long as they can keep it tight at the back, that's dangerous for them, and I think they got a good chance at the playoffs this year. Next up is Swansea City.
Good week, side. They go to Bristol City, get a good point. Beat Stoke City, you know what I mean, on paper. It's really 2 really tough games, and the Stoke City game in particular, I thought they dominated.
Yeah.
I thought the first goal from Fulton, I thought was outstanding. The way that he flicked it in outside his right foot and off the post was absolutely fantastic. And I looked at a big changing point in the game for me. Was a triple substitution by the manager. He brought on Bidwell, Kabanga and Palmer, and I wrote those 3 names down because I just thought, for a manager to make a triple substitution in a game when you're 1-0 ahead, you know what I mean, against a good side, it just may take absolute balls, and it coincided with Bidwell setting up Palmer for the second goal, and he's got to take huge credit, because they're doing something really right. You know what I mean? He's got him back playing the Swansea type of way of football, and the goals that they're scoring and the way they're attacking. It's interesting to see.
Indeed,
as Coventry City are beating Reading, by the way.
Yeah, I just saw that. Someone called that earlier on. I think it was Rob Boyle and Leslie, maybe. They called that. But yeah, Swansea have been very good. I'm a big fan of Kabanga. But like you say, balls of steel for the manager. And at the end of the day, these managers, coaches, whatever, they live and die by their decisions and their tactics. So, next up is Bournemouth, mate.
Yeah, well, they don't score enough goals for me, Si. You know,
It's weird, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I expected them to. You've got your Solankis, you've got your Kings, you've got your Stanislas. They just don't seem to score enough goals, and I don't know why. I don't know. You've still got your Brooks. I find it very strange. You've got your Sturridge on your bench. You've got other players. It's a very strange one that they're not scoring as many goals as what they are. Listen, they're having a great season. The league tables states that and says quite clearly. But you go to Watford, which is a tough game. You draw 1-1. You equalise in the last minute, which turns out to be a great result. You play against Bristol City, you win 1-0. I suppose you've only got to score enough goals, which you need to win a game. But I expect them to score more goals. You look at the last 4 games. No goals against QPR, 1 goal against Cardiff, 1 goal against Watford, 1 goal against Bristol City. For me, they need to score more goals.
Can't agree with that more, mate. And they've got the players, so it's just really a case of getting it together. This is a strange word, but I'm sure we'll get there at some point. Because the players are too good for it, so I can't imagine that they'll go the whole season struggling to score.
No. And they're not going anywhere.
But then it could be like a hangover from the Premier League where they've struggled maybe to, with some of the bigger teams or whatever. Yeah. Maybe it's just a bit of a hangover. I don't know.
Maybe it's players as well that they wanted to win in the window and they haven't gone away. You just don't know. You just don't know.
No, and maybe those players thought they were going to walk it, so they're not motivated, but maybe not as focused as they should be. And then finally we've got Reading flying high, smashed Rotherham 3-0, smashed Blackburn 4-2, now losing to Coventry.
Yeah, well, what a week they've had. Wow, 7 goals, amazing. The 3-0 victory against Rotherham, Mite scored 2 and then Lucas Jow scored a penalty, which surprised me, by the way. And it surprised me that Mite didn't take a penalty, scored his hat-trick himself. That was one surprise when I was watching the game. I had to check to see if he came off, and he didn't, which did really surprise me. And then Blackburn Rovers, we spoke briefly about it, but you're 3-0 up after 17, 18 minutes. You're just blowing teams. You're just blowing teams away. And yes, they're getting beaten tonight, and that's just sod's law, and just shows how unpredictable this championship is. But I don't expect Reading not to score. I expect them to go and score goals. So for me, Coventry need at least 2 goals to win this game. Because I can't believe they're going to keep a clean sheet against Reading. I'll be surprised if they do. Because for me, Reading have got too many options. You know what I mean? If it's not Mite, it's Elise. If it's not Elise, it's Lucas Jow. If it's not Lucas Jow, it'll be Sonny Aluko. You know what I mean? They've got too many options for me to not win, to not score enough goals. Like I look at the team tonight. You've got Aluko playing up front with Lucas Jow. No Mite because he must be injured. But then you've still got Puskas on the bench, you've still got McIntyre on the bench, you've still got Semedo playing. So they've still got an unbelievable squad of players to pick from and score goals. So for me, I think they'll definitely score today. Yeah,
I'm going to talk about Lucas Jow in a minute, but one other player who really stands out for me in Reading and the Championship overall is Semedo.
Yeah.
What a player, mate. A couple more assists this week and really just makes everything tick. Yeah, I love it. I love his work rate, his quality, everything about him. Very good player. Okay, let's finish this up then. We're going to go up, 2 down, and then we'll have a little quick chat before we finish up. Let's go with the negative first. Who you got for your first down, mate?
I've gone the amount of late goals given away, Si. You know what I mean? I just think is it we spoke about it there. Is it concentration? Is it fitness levels? Is it something else? Is it because there's no fans in the game and they're not? I don't know. I haven't got the answers to it, but there's a lot of late goals and it's costing teams a lot of points, and they're going to look back towards the end of the season and wonder, is that why they haven't gone up? Is that why they've gone down? Is that why they're not in the playoffs? You know what I mean? You can only blame yourself by letting late goals in.
Yeah, 100%, mate. So I was going to go for sendings off generally, but I went for the Ida sending off for Norwich, just simply because I thought it was so stupid and petulant, and just like it was just you're going to get sent off for that. There was no need for it. They were winning the game. It was the last injury time. Could have cost Norwich a point. Luckily for him, it didn't. but I just gave it to him because I thought it was just ridiculous, to be honest. Who's your next down, mate?
I've gone for red cards, like we just said there. Seven red cards in seven red cards in 2 lots of fixtures. I think it's disgraceful. You know what I mean? And letter of the law. We're questioning some of them, but petulant. But for me, I don't. For me, it's stupidity as well. You know what I mean? You've got to look at referees are doing the job. They're there to protect players. If you're putting yourself in a silly position to risk a red card, then you're risking it being red. And some of the laughable ones where Gary Monk's saying it's not a red card, it's just laughable. So for me, 7's too many in a week. You know what I mean? If that's accumulating every week, it's just they're losing players for 3 games, for 1 game, for more games. It's not. Is it worth it? Not for me.
It's ridiculous. It's silly, mate. Leslie just said he's putting his cash on both teams to score in the Reading game because you said Reading will definitely score.
They will. So I'll have half with you, Leslie. You can buy me a pint.
And the next...
Funny, you can't because the pub's a shut.
Yeah, I was going to say. Next, my down was Cardiff City tactics. Negative, long ball, pub football. They're better than that. They should be better than that. Sort it out, because that was dreadful. And not just from a watching point of view and a fan point of view. It's not the right tactics to play with the players they've got. And that's my point all along.
Good shout.
Wrong formation, wrong tactics. Who's your first up, mate?
My first up is Norwich City. And just the way that they're scoring late goals and the way that they're accumulating points at a late stage. I think it's a really good tactic to do. You know what I mean? It's never say die attitude. If it's fitness levels, whatever it may be, what's getting those late goals it'll follow them all the way through the season because teams will know that they've got an extra 5% in the tank towards the end of the game.
Can't fault you, mate. And at the end of the day, those goals will get them points. Maybe be the difference between. Look at what happened on the last day of the season, in the Championship season last season. The goal difference and things was the difference between playoffs and not playoffs on the last day. Those last minute goals, they could be very, very important at the end of the season. My first up is Armstrong of Blackburn, absolutely on fire, on form, best centre forward in the league. And he just keeps grinding out the goals, just keeps scoring. And Blackburn be doing very well to hold on to him in the.
I agree.
Into window.
I agree.
And final up for you, mate.
I've gone for a Millwall double, so I'm going to go for Jed Wallace and Kenneth Zahar because however Gary Rowett decided to put them both together, they're a dream partnership because of Kenneth Zahar's ability to hold the ball up, win headers, get in good areas. Jed Wallace's pace, his power, his directness, his ability to run past people, and they're both getting loads of joy. You know what I mean? Jed's getting goals from running in deep. He's getting goals from free kicks and penalties, and Kenneth Zahar's getting in with a couple of goals as well. Yes, he's very inconsistent in front of a goal. We mentioned earlier on about the shot nearly at the corner flag, which is probably him all over. But at the same time, he's now bringing goals to his game, and if he can get regular goals and score 15, 20 goals, Millwall are in for a good season.
Yeah, 100%, mate. My thing with that is like we talked about with Glatzel and Moore. Why not play 2 strikers? There's not like this unwritten rule where you have to play 1 striker up front. It's working for him.
Yes, it's not a law. It's not a law. You can be different as well. You can have 3. You can have 4.
Yeah. You don't have to play the same formation as everyone else either. You can find a formation that suits the players you have in your squad. You'll be shocked to know. And my final up is Lucas João of Reading.
Great show.
I've been so impressed with him the last couple of games. Been superb.
Fantastic.
Too good for the Championship, by the way. And to finish us off, there was a couple of questions very quickly. Gaz says, top show again, lads. Name your top 3 favourite films. That's not football related, and it's certainly not Championship related. Not sure if we should answer that, but go on. Top 3 films off the top of your head.
Oh, difficult one. I'm a big Adam Sandler fan, so I'll go The Waterboy, Mr. Deeds, and then I'll go a serious one, so I'll go The Green Mile, because I watched it in lockdown last time, so I like that one as well.
Good shout. I'll go Inception, The Matrix, and The Gentleman. Just because I've watched all them
recently.
There you
go, Gaz. Straight down you for trying to catch us out.
Have it.
Yeah.
And there was another question somewhere, and I can't remember where it was. I think it was.
I'll agree with Gaz though. Gaz said that you're missing your Klitsch crush. I do agree with that. Same as
I've got a new one now, mate.
Same as me and me Ollie Watkins, but I won't. Never going to get him back unless we got the Premier League, which we won't do because we're not cheating on the Championship.
Jesus. Yeah, look, Garen says, great show again, lads. You'll have to make a Wednesday slot available soon. Look, I tell you what, if someone wants to pay us, we'll do one every night, drive time. Pay us the money. The Andy Campbell drive time show. So, I know certain broadcasters watch this show.
There's a ring to it.
Show me the money! But, that was Leslie asked who's on the show on Monday. Are we revealing that yet?
No.
No, we're not. No one. It's just going to be us.
There is someone on though.
Talking about our favourite films.
There is someone on.
Hour.
Leslie will be impressed.
Indeed. Oh, there we go. Little tease there. Guys, 21st of December.
I like this. This is a good.
2020 will be the 100th episode of the Andy Campbell Show.
What are we doing?
We will do something special. It's on a Monday, which makes it superb. So we'll have a guest, but I'm going to do my very, very best to get some sort of surprise for Andy.
We don't have to though, do we?
What's that?
We could do something different.
Just chuck out a compilation show and have a night off.
We could do something different though, couldn't we? We could leave it up to the viewers to tell us what they want, or we could interact with. It could just be an
interactive hour.
I don't know. Let's think.
Got a bit of time, uncensored.
Got a bit of time.
Anything, couldn't we?
Got a bit of time.
But yeah, 21st of December will be the 100th episode, so spread the word. Yeah, Dave Jones would be a fantastic guest for that episode. I agree with that. This Sunday, Mental Health in Sport, episode number 4, is with current Walsall captain, James Clark, talking about his experiences with mental health and PTSD. So I obviously appreciate him not only coming on as a current player. It's very difficult to come out publicly speak about that sort of stuff. But I admire his honesty and having the balls to come and speak about it publicly. Captain of Walsall. So it'd be very interesting. And I've just very quickly, I'll say, due to the reactions to the show and also recent events, we decided to extend that series. It was initially only going to be 5 episodes, but it's now going to be 8 to 10. And we've got some, as you know, and we've got some interesting things going on with that, like people and organisations behind the scenes. So hopefully get some good guests.
I think so. I think how can I word it right? I think with recent developments, and I think how important the matter is, I think a few people are starting to take notice of what's happening, and I won't use it to cry for help, because I just think I think a few people know the importance now and need to get their message and story out, because just to make sure certain things don't happen again, because it shouldn't happen, and I know certain people have done a few tweets, a few Man United players, a few Man City players over the last week who were obviously very close to the player, which it's heartbreaking. That it's a friend. We forget football. Football's it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a young person and a friend and a son and a husband or a boyfriend or something. It's just not fair. A brother. It's just such a shame.
Yeah. Well, as I've said a million times, mate, it feels like a million times, but I would rather get 10 views on those mental health videos and reach one person who's struggling with, whether we're talking about alcoholism or drugs or depression or whatever the condition may be or whatever the issue may be, and there's that one person we sort of reach and they realise that they don't have to struggle on their own. I'd rather do that with 10 views than have a million views. Yeah. Because that's what that show is about. It's about mental health and spreading awareness, and obviously having footballers talk about their own experiences. Rob Boyle asks, do you pay guests to come on the show? No, we do not. And we've refused a couple who asked.
Yep.
1000%.
Nope.
Won't be doing it. Nope. We use our good looks and wit to attract them all.
We use our contacts and our persuasion techniques, but why? Listen, I don't see it as why we probably should. For me, I think we don't take a penny of this, a penny from anything. We enjoy doing it for the people who watch and people who listen in and download and have loads of fun. And I think it's just for me, it's an amazing show, and it's going to continue being so.
No, Rob, I will not name the people who asked for money, by the way. But what I will say as well with that is, if we were in a studio, when we're in a studio together doing this show, drive time on TV, radio, whatever, hypothetically, obviously, if we then was to say, like, have a guest and they travelled especially to come on the show and come to the studio, then I think that's slightly different. You pay their travel, you pay their hotel or whatever. If you're doing like a remote call like this, then I ain't paying people to come on, you know? If I ain't getting paid nothing at the moment, why should the guest? Simple as that, mate. Not having that. That's a sore subject for me, as you know, mate.
Yeah, I know it is.
What I will say, I'm not going to name names. I approached a certain cricketer who used to play for England, and I've had probably 4, 5, 6 ex-England internationals, probably bigger names than him as well, who asked for an absolute extortionate amount of money for half, I think 40 minutes of an interview. I can't even remember how much it was now. I should have a look, but it was like hundreds, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I was offended by it. It takes a lot to offend me. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, you were.
I was not happy. But there we go.
I had to calm him down.
Yeah. Look, Rob's apologising now because he's brought up the sore subject. It's all good, mate. I'm all good. I could sit here and I could talk and talk. I could just talk for like another hour, just talk about stuff, interact with people. I love it. And, when it starts paying me a pretty penny, there'll be shows every single day. But until then, subscribe to the YouTube channel, please, because that is the best way to support us, helps us out the most. And at the moment, as we're getting closer and closer to that 1,000 mark on YouTube, we're getting there slowly. That's the hardest one to grow, and that's the one that we set as our long-term goal when we started. I think we're up to like 930 odd off the top of my head. But of course, spread the word, guys. Tell people to listen, tune in. We've got the Championship Show Friday, the Football Show Monday, where we have the guests. 100th episode coming up soon. We will do something special for that, whether it's special guests, whether it's multiple guests, whether it's surprises. I might try and surprise Andy, I know that. I'm going to try and get someone to surprise him. We'll do something special for that. Check out the Mental Health and Sports shows. Massive thank you to Black Diamond Sports for all the support. And then, of course, Bespoke Financial. Check out their sites and stuff. And have a look. Darren Ralston. Massive thank you to them for sponsoring the show. Until then, we will see you Monday, 7:30 kickoff for the Andy Campbell Football Show. And we'll chuck up our predictions on social media. So have a look at them. Give us your predictions for the Championship games tomorrow. Look out for ours. They'll be up later. Until then, Andy, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you.
No worries. Well done. Cheers, guys.
Yeah. Look at that. Rob, right at the end. Last question. Lucky for him. He says, shall we have a virtual Christmas party?
Yes.
Well, the 100th episode is 4 days before Christmas.
Yes. Let's do it. Beers and everything.
Oh.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.
Do just what you want.